All right, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Muddy Vape Show. So this is the much anticipated Tanko review. So it took me a little bit of time to get the Tanko in. I had to jump through a few hoops in order to get it and track one down, but I did manage to track one down. And I've spent the last couple of days with it, kind of testing it out and getting my, kind of building my opinion on this tank. Had high expectations for it, and it has thoroughly reached all the expectations that I had for it. So I've got it sitting on the Squid Industries double barrel, and I'm using the yellow Ultim tank. And yeah, it's been great. It's been a great vape. Nice little single coil tank, which is, in my opinion, now that I've spent a little bit of time with it, is very, very easy to wick, very easy to set up. And I'll go over some of the finer points when we go down and take an up-close look at it. There's a little bit of a learning curve. Well, there was a little bit of a learning curve for me. I'm not an RTA user, so I'm still learning when it comes to tanks. And so there was just a slight little bit of a learning curve for me. But some of the high points that I'll point out before we go up close, the machining and the quality of this tank is impeccable. Everything is machine precise, all the threading, all the different components, they're all very nice and very well made. I mean, you can definitely tell the quality once you get your hands on this tank. You can definitely tell the quality there, and the attention to detail and the craftsmanship and everything, I mean, is spot on. So let's take it to the up close and kind of get a better look at the tank now. I have been using this tank, so it will have a coil in it, and my cotton that I've been using will still be in it when we look at the actual deck. But that shouldn't take away from the important stuff that we need to see. But let's go ahead, take it down, and get an up close look.
All right, guys, so here we are in the up close portion. So here's your box. Pretty plain Jane simple box with that nice beautiful Odis Collection logo on the top. So inside of the box you would normally have the other Ultim tank in here with the, put that little guy in frame there, with the rest of the tank section there. You get your standard little trinket bag of grub screws, O-rings, and a Allen key would normally be in here. And then you get this beautiful clear Ultim tank as well, or PMMA tank rather, and you get the Ultim, the yellow Ultim tank in here as well. Currently have mine set off to the side because I still have juice in it from using the Tanko earlier. So that normally sits there. And here is the deck in all its glory. And like I said, I've been using this tank for the last couple of days. I wanted to get a good sense of it, a good how it works, so I could, when I'm done the review, I could give as much information and the best information I could, in my opinion, after using it for a couple of days. So one thing, if I can grab a 1 second. Okay, so one thing for me, when I first initially when I wicked this for the first time, I just kind of had it to where the tails of my wick were just barely coming in to this section. So the wicking come down into here and just barely sat in this. You could just barely see the wicking coming out from that. And when I reassembled it and put it, put everything back together and put juice in it, I had just a small, a very minute amount of leaking and when I say a small amount, essentially all I had was a little bit of accumulation of juice in the airport here. It wasn't actually pouring out, but I did have an accumulation to where, you know, it was just sitting in here, and if I tilted it over to the side, it would eventually kind of just drip out a little bit. So I took it all apart and then rewicked it, and when I did it the second time, I just made sure that, you know, you have kind of this kidney shaped well here, and I just made sure that the wick filled that well, and that it was all the way down to this into this portion, so that the wicking come all the way into this portion, as you can how you see it there. And with doing that, I haven't had any issues. I haven't had any issues with anything accumulating in here. It's been wicking properly. You know, I take a hit off of it, and it'll bubble up just as it should, and yeah, it's been really great. And as far as when you put your build in, pretty simple setup for putting the build in. You have your 2 grub screws here, and then you just take your coil, lay your legs in, one leg under here, one leg under here, you know, capture them, and then trim them off. And yeah, beautiful setup. Now, one thing I did notice, and I think is worth mentioning, because it ends up with two kind of situations going on. Okay, so one, your airflow here in the bottom. Now this will actually spin out. I mean, you can see that it continues off as your 510 pin. This section will spin off. You can see you have your isolator there, but what you end up with, if this is out of alignment, when it goes into, maybe the camera will be able to pick it up. Okay, so you can see in there where the airflow is lined up. Okay, that's the way you want it. Now, I did have mine at one point where that's how the airflow looked, and you can see in there. So now essentially that pin, the airflow part of it, is sitting off here to the side, and that's what causes it to be extremely loud and kind of have a turbulent sound to it. But when it's in proper alignment, you'll be looking directly into it. And I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm saying that to where it makes sense. But yeah, so there's your build deck, and how she looks there. So now the only other section you have inside this, and I left a tip in there with some goo, but you have this metal section in case you don't want to use the if you wanted to break it up to where you don't use this, because the drip tip, this part of the drip tip is integrated into this cap. So if that's not something that you want to use, this is essentially just an adapter so that you can put that on like that and then use your own 510 inside of it. And that'll work with either of the tanks. So what I did was this beautiful drip tip off of the the Troll version 2, 22 mil one that I have. It fits perfectly in there. And works beautifully. So yeah, that's off of the Troll version 2, and I'm pretty sure that it's the same one on the 22 mil and the 25 mil. But yeah, fits perfectly into that setup. So that is everything that comes in the box. And now on mine, like I said, the the threading and everything on mine was super butter smooth. I didn't have any issue getting the chimney section out of this tank originally, and everything was perfectly machined and butter smooth. Everything worked perfectly, much to my delight. So there's the up close section of the Tanko, and we'll switch it back up top, and I'll give you the rest of my thoughts on it. And I got to give some shout outs to a couple people, and we'll have this review wrapped up. So see you back up top.
So back from the up close portion of the review. So back on the double barrel. All right, so like I said, build quality is great. It's very well made. Everything is very precise. The machining and all the threads and on this thing are perfect. Once I kind of paid a little bit more attention to detail when it comes to wicking, I haven't had any issues. The vape that I get off of it has been great. I've been running a single coil that's coming out at 0.38 and running at about 45 watts, and it is just it's as warm as I like my vapes to be, and the flavor is spot on. I mean, it's really good, really good flavor, and the perfect temperature for me. And the great thing about it is running it on this double barrel. Battery life is yeah, and run 2-3 days, I guess, running it at that wattage. So when I first attempted to get the Tanko, I couldn't find it anywhere in the States, anywhere close. Only place that I was able to find it available was in Europe, and I didn't want to pay the shipping to get it sent in. Because it would cost almost nearly as much, well, about half as much as the actual cost of the Tanko to get it shipped to me. So I reached out to the guys over at Odis Collection, and they steered me in the direction of Into Vapes in Canada. And we contacted those guys. I had a little bit of issue trying to make the purchase on my side. I have a local bank, and because I was trying to make an international purchase, it kind of set off some fraud alert type stuff, and I had to deal with that. But the guys over at Into Vapes, Brandon and Luigi, they made sure that, several calls back and forth between us to make sure that I could get this purchase done, and got it done, and they shipped it out to me. And they were, they went above and beyond, just making sure, just having those conversations back and forth over the phone to make sure that it wasn't anything on their end, which it turned out not being anything on their end, but they wanted to make sure that it wasn't anything on their end, and that I was able to get the item that I was looking for, because I wanted the black rendition. It comes in stainless steel and black, and I wanted the black one. They had one, and they made sure that they stuck through all the way to the end to make sure that I got it. So then on top of that, they threw in a couple extra guys here. They threw in some coils from Definitive Coils, and that was the one that's in that tank, and they have been absolutely great. Just a couple of fuse claptons, which he asked me what type of coils I normally ran, and I told him, I said, hey, fuse claptons are right up my alley. So yeah, he sent me out a couple of those, some vape bands, and some stickers, and also wrote me a little personal note in my invoice, which I thought was a great touch. And like I said, the guys over at Into Vapes really went above and beyond to make sure that I was happy with my purchase. And if it hadn't been for them, I wouldn't have gotten the Tanko. And I'm looking forward to putting it on another mod that I haven't gotten in yet, and I'm going to do another video for that. But we're here to talk about my impressions and what I'm thinking about on the Tanko. Is it worth the price point? Yes. To me, it definitely is. Like I said, flavor is on point. Simplicity of building and installing your coil is completely there. Once you kind of get the feel for it, like I said, the wicking is straight down and simple, and the quality and craftsmanship and the way it looks. I mean, it just looks clean. I mean, that's just a beautiful looking tank. So yeah, I've used it for several days, and it's a little bit of a change for me because I'm usually vaping at 0.15, 0.2, somewhere in there, and I'm usually running a lot more wattage. And if I'm using my tank, I'm cooking through juice pretty quickly, and this doesn't. And it's funny to me because I use less juice, less power, so my batteries last longer, and I'm still getting, the same style, that same kind of vape that I'm used to. So if you're used to using a single coil tank, and this is going to be great. This is going to be right up your alley. If you're not, you're going to be surprised that it's not vastly different than your RDA. If you were thinking that it was going to be, night and day difference, it's not. The airflow on it is it's not as open and airy. It's got the airflow on one side. You have one port in just on one side, and it's not as I wouldn't describe it as wide open, super airy. I don't know if the mic's picking that up. It's a little loud, but not obtrusively loud. Is that right? It's not bad. It's not so loud that it's going to be irritating. And it's just if I had to say in comparison to something like the Kennedy, it's restrictive compared to the Kennedy. If it's not at that super wide open, but the amount of restrictiveness that it has, it allows that flavor to build for me. I mean, that's kind of what I'm telling myself. When you're getting that little bit more of a restrictive draw, not a lot, but just a little bit. Just think about it, if you just kind of turned your airflow down just a slightly on an RDA that you're used to, that's really wide open and airy. If you turn it down just slightly, that's what I'm getting on this, is just a slightly restrictive airflow. And like I said, one of the things that I really like about it is that, and it produces plenty vapor. You're not going to fog up a room or win a cloud comp with it, but it produces a satisfying amount. But at the same time, if you're trying to get kind of that stealthy hit in, you can accomplish that too. I mean, you can get a smaller hit, still get that flavor, still get that taste, that vape that you're looking for. So yeah, really pleased with it, and that's about where it sits. I looked on the forum earlier, and then somebody asked if it was worth the money. In my opinion, yes. Yeah, definitely worth the price. The quality, craftsmanship is there, so definitely become a fan of the Odis collection and probably check out some more of their stuff. And again, massively humongous shout out, even throw a business card up there, Into Vapes. Yeah, Brandon, Luigi, really appreciate everything that you guys went through to make sure I got this tank. I've really been enjoying it, and I will definitely be reaching out to you guys in the future if I have some hard to find items, or most definitely gonna place an order for some more of these guys. Y'all kind of got me hooked on that. So all right, guys, that is going to be it for the review on the Odis Collection Tanko. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. If there's something that you would like to see or some suggestions you have, feel free to leave me a comment. Hit that thumbs up button. Yeah, give me a like. So, yeah, that's going to be it. And I will see you guys on the next one.